I sat at my parents' antique dining table, staring at the crystal champagne flute in my hand, wondering if anyone would notice if I shattered it against the wall. The bubbles floating upward seemed to mock the tears I was desperately holding back. "To Shane's incredible new venture!" My mother Delilah raised her glass, her diamond tennis bracelet catching the light. "And to the bright future this sale will help create." My name is Mallory, and I just watched my parents give my younger brother $500,000 from selling our family home, without telling me until it was done. "Thanks, Mom." Shane adjusted his new Rolex, a gesture he'd perfected over the past hour. "I promise this investment will pay off big time. My business partner's already lined up 3 major clients." I took a small sip of champagne, letting the bitter taste match my mood. The home I'd grown up in, where Grandma had taught me to bake cookies and read stories, had been sold without my knowledge, and every penny was going to my perpetually failing brother. "Mallory, honey," my father Fernando ventured, noticing my silence. "You understand, right? Your brother needs this seed money to really make something of himself. You're already so established. Established, right, because working 60-hour weeks in finance to build my career from scratch was just handed to me." "Of course, Dad," I forced a smile. "I'm just processing the news." "Oh, sweetheart," my mother chimed in, with that patronizing tone I'd grown to hate. "You've always been our sensible one. You don't need this like Shane does. You're already so responsible." Shane smirked behind his champagne glass. "Yeah, sis, always the responsible one." I gripped my glass tighter, remembering all the times I'd covered Shane's rent in college, paid off his credit cards, cleaned up his messes, all while being told how lucky I was to be the stable one. "When do you close?" I managed to ask. "Already did," Shane announced proudly. "Signed the papers this morning. The money's already being transferred to my business account." The room spun slightly. "This morning? But how did you handle Grandma's trust?" A confused silence fell over the table. "What trust, dear?" My mother's voice had that edge it got whenever someone questioned her decisions. "Grandma's trust, the one that gave me half ownership of the house when she died." I kept my voice steady, even as my heart raced. "It was in her will." My father shifted uncomfortably. "That old thing? That was just a draft, honey. It never went through." But I knew better. 2 weeks ago, while helping clean out the attic before the sale, I'd found Grandma's Bible. Inside was a copy of the fully executed trust document, signed and notarized. I'd taken a photo of it, still processing what it meant. "Really?" I pulled out my phone, fingers trembling slightly as I pulled up the photo. "Because this looks pretty official to me." The colour drained from my mother's face as I turned the screen toward her. Shane's smirk vanished. "Where did you get that?" My mother's voice was sharp now. "Does it matter?" I stood up slowly, gathering my purse. "What matters is you sold property I legally own half of without my consent. I wonder what the county recorder's office would think about that." "Now, Mallory," my father started, "let's not be hasty." "Hasty?" I laughed, the sound harsh even to my ears. "Like selling our family home without telling your firstborn? Like giving every penny to Shane without a second thought?" "You're just jealous," Shane snapped. "You've always been jealous of me." I looked at him, really looked at him, seeing not the successful entrepreneur he pretended to be, but the spoiled boy who'd never faced consequences. "No, Shane, I'm not jealous, I'm done." I headed for the door, then turned back one last time. "By the way, that trust document, it's not the only copy. Grandma was smart like that. She knew exactly what kind of people she was dealing with." The silence behind me was deafening as I walked out. In my car, I pulled out my phone and dialed a number I'd saved just in case. "Ciara Reynolds's office," a voice answered. "Hi, this is Mallory Sherman. I need to speak with Ciara about my grandmother's trust. It's urgent." As I drove home, my hands had stopped shaking. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel powerless against my family's golden child. I had something better than their approval now. I had proof, and I was going to use it. "This is troubling." Ciara Reynolds adjusted her reading glasses, frowning at the trust document spread across her mahogany desk. Very troubling indeed. I'd managed to get an emergency appointment first thing Monday morning. My weekend had been a blur of ignored calls from my family and stress baking 3 batches of cookies I didn't eat. Troubling how? I leaned forward, clutching my coffee cup like a lifeline. Your grandmother's trust is ironclad. You own 50% of that house, Mallory. Your parents had no legal right to sell it without your signature. She looked up, her expression grave. They've committed fraud, whether they realised it or not. A knock at the door interrupted us. My best friend Ivy poked her head in. I'd asked her to come for moral support and her scary good memory for details. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was insane. She slipped into the chair beside me, squeezing my hand. What did I miss? Just confirming that my parents illegally sold my house, I said dryly. Ciara pulled out another document. The sale has already been recorded with the county, but given the circumstances, we can file an immediate objection and freeze the proceeds. Mal. Ivy touched my arm, her voice gentle. Are you sure you want to do this? These are your parents we're talking about. The same parents who just gave my brother $500,000 without even telling me they were selling. I shook my head. They made their choice. I can file the paperwork today, Ciara said, but you should know, this will get messy. Family lawsuits always do. My phone buzzed. Another text from Shane. Mom's crying because of you. Hope you're happy. I turned the phone face down. Do it. There's something else. Ciara hesitated. Given the complexity, you might want to consider additional counsel, someone who specialises in financial law. My stomach dropped. I knew exactly who she meant, and I'd been avoiding thinking about him. Kerry Spencer, I said quietly. Ivy's head snapped up. Your ex? The corporate lawyer? He's the best in the city for this kind of case, Ciara confirmed. I hadn't spoken to Kerry in 2 years, not since our messy breakup. He'd wanted marriage. I'd been too focused on my career, but he'd also seen firsthand how my family treated me. I'll think about it, I said, gathering my things. Outside Ciara's office, Ivy grabbed my arm. Okay, spill. What are you really thinking? I'm thinking. I paused, watching traffic flow past. I'm thinking about all the times Shane crashed on my couch when he was broke, all the times I covered for him with Mum and Dad, all the times they told me to be the bigger person. And now you're done being the bigger person. Now I'm being the smart person. I pulled out my phone and found Kerry's number. Still there, after all this time. My finger hovered over it when another text from Shane lit up my screen. Dad's talking about early retirement. Thanks for ruining that too. I hit dial. Kerry answered on the second ring. Mallory, this is unexpected. Hi, Kerry. Got time for coffee? I have an interesting case for you. 30 minutes later, we sat in our old favourite cafe. Kerry looked good, better than I remembered. His dark hair had touches of grey now, but his eyes were still sharp and focused. Let me get this straight, he said, reviewing the trust document copies. They sold your house without telling you, gave all the money to your brother, and thought you'd just accept it? Pretty much. He leaned back, a familiar glint in his eye. You know what's interesting? I looked into your brother's new business venture this morning. How did you? He's been bragging about it all over LinkedIn, and I noticed something odd about his partner, Aidan Patterson. What about him? Kerry's smile was predatory. He's been involved in 3 failed startups in the last 2 years. All of them ended with missing investor money and convenient computer crashes that lost all the records. My coffee turned cold in my hands. Are you saying? I'm saying your brother may have given $500,000 to a professional con artist. Kerry pulled out his laptop. Want to see what else I found? For the first time since that horrible dinner, I felt a smile spread across my face. Show me everything. Mallory, Kerry's voice softened, this could destroy your relationship with your family. I thought about Shane's texts, about my mother's dismissal, about my father's silence. "No," I said quietly. "They already did that. I'm just making it official." Kerry nodded and opened his laptop. "Then let's begin." The county clerk's office was eerily quiet as Kerry filed our complaint. The only sound was the rhythmic thump of the clerk's stamp. 1, 2, 3 official documents challenging the house sale. And done. Kerry straightened his tie. "The title's officially frozen. No one can touch that money now." My phone had been buzzing non-stop since morning. Shane must have gotten the notification. How long until? I started to ask, but was cut off by the doors bursting open. "What the hell is wrong with you?" My mother stormed in, her designer heels clicking against the marble floor. My father trailed behind her, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. "Mrs. Sherman," Kerry stepped forward smoothly. "I'm afraid my client can't discuss this matter with you directly now that legal proceedings have begun." "Your client?" My mother's laugh was harsh. "That's my daughter you're talking about." "Really?" I couldn't help myself. "Funny, I thought Shane was your only child, given how you handled this sale." "We gave you everything." She jabbed a finger toward me. "Private school, college tuition." "You gave Shane the same things," I cut in. "Plus cars, rent money, business investments, and now $500,000 that wasn't yours to give." My father finally spoke. "Princess, please, we can work this out as a family." "Princess?" I hadn't heard that nickname since I was 12. "I stopped being your princess the day Shane needed his first bailout." Kerry touched my elbow gently. "We should go." But the doors burst open again. This time it was Shane, his face red, designer suit rumpled. "The investors are pulling out!" he stormed toward me. "They saw the legal filing. Everything's falling apart." "Mr. Sherman," Kerry's voice took on a warning tone. "Step back. You ruined everything." Shane's fist slammed against the clerk's counter. The elderly clerk jumped, reaching for her phone. "Security to the records office." She spoke quietly into the receiver. "Shane." My father tried to grab his arm. "Son, calm down." "Don't tell me to calm down." Shane shook him off. "My partner's threatening to walk. Do you know what he'll do if this falls through?" Something in his voice made me pause. Fear. Real fear. Kerry caught it too. His eyes narrowed. "What exactly would your partner do, Shane?" "None of your business." But Shane's hand was shaking as he ran it through his hair. 2 security guards appeared at the door. "Everything okay in here?" "We're fine," my mother said quickly. "Just a family discussion." "A family discussion about fraud," Kerry corrected smoothly. "We'll be leaving now. Any further communication should go through my office." As we walked out, my mother called after me. "You ungrateful little—" The heavy doors swung shut, cutting off her words. In the parking lot, Kerry turned to me. "Did you catch that? About his partner?" "Shane's scared of him." I leaned against my car. "Really scared." "Give me an hour." Kerry pulled out his phone. "I know someone in the fraud division who owes me a favour." Back at my apartment, Ivy was waiting with wine and takeout. "Your mum called me," she said, as I collapsed onto the couch. "Tried to get me to talk sense into you." "Of course she did." I grabbed a spring roll. "What did you tell her?" "That she should have thought about consequences before selling property she didn't fully own." My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. "Hello? Is this Mallory?" A man's voice, unfamiliar. "This is Aidan Patterson, Shane's business partner." My heart skipped. "How did you get this number?" "That's not important. What's important is that we need to talk, privately, about your brother's creative accounting." I put the phone on speaker so Ivy could hear. "What do you mean?" "Meet me tomorrow, noon, the coffee shop on 4th Street. Come alone." He paused. "Unless you don't care about finding out what happened to some of that money before it hit the business account." The line went dead. Ivy's eyes were wide. "Are you going to tell Kerry?" I stared at my phone, thinking about Shane's fear, about Aidan's tone. "No," I said slowly. "Not yet. First, I want to hear what Aidan has to say." "Mal, that's dangerous. This guy sounds sketchy as hell." It's a public place. I reached for my wine glass. And something tells me Aidan's not the only one with secrets to share. My phone buzzed again, a text from my father. Your mother's taken to bed. I hope you're satisfied. I turned off my phone. You know what, Ivy? For the first time in my life, I actually am satisfied. But as I said it, I wondered what tomorrow's meeting would reveal, and whether I was ready for the answer. The coffee shop on 4th Street was crowded enough to feel safe, but not so loud that conversation would be impossible. I spotted Aidan immediately. Expensive suit, slicked back hair, the kind of smile that belonged on a used car salesman. Mallory, he stood as I approached. Thank you for coming. Coffee? I'm fine. I sat across from him, keeping my bag close. What's this about creative accounting? Aidan glanced around before sliding a USB drive across the table. Your brother's not as clever as he thinks he is. What's on it? Bank records, transfer logs, proof that Shane moved almost $50,000 into his personal account before the business was even registered. His smile widened. Of course, that's illegal. I left the drive on the table. Why are you showing me this? Insurance? He leaned back. Your legal challenge has our investors spooked. If this venture fails, I don't want to be the only one facing questions. You mean you want a scapegoat? I mean, I want to survive. His smile vanished. Your brother's been sloppy. When things go south, and they will, someone needs to take the fall. My phone buzzed. Kerry's name flashed on the screen. Excuse me, I said, standing. I need to take this. Outside the coffee shop, I answered. Kerry? Where are you? His voice was tense. I just got some interesting information about Aidan Patterson. I'm actually meeting with him right now. What? Mallory, get out of there. He's under federal investigation for his last 3 ventures. He records conversations and uses them for blackmail. My blood ran cold. I glanced through the window. Aidan was on his phone, probably recording everything. Thanks for the warning. I'll call you back. I returned to the table but remained standing. Nice try with the USB drive. Let me guess. If I took it, you'd have proof I was involved in the scheme? His smile slipped slightly. Smart girl, but the records on it are still real. So is the federal investigation into your past businesses? I enjoyed watching him pale. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to give me copies of the real records, all of them, or I'll make sure the FBI knows exactly where to find you. You're bluffing. I pulled out my phone, showing him Kerry's contact info. My ex-boyfriend works with the corporate fraud division. Want to test me? Aidan's facade cracked. If I give you everything, I want immunity. Deal. I sat back down. Start talking. An hour later, I left with an email containing everything. Bank statements, forged documents, even texts between Aidan and Shane planning the whole thing. Kerry was waiting at my apartment with Ivy. You took a huge risk, he said as I walked in. It paid off. I forwarded him the email. Look what our golden boy's been up to. Kerry whistled as he scrolled through his phone. This is comprehensive. Shane could face serious charges. Good, I said, but my voice shook slightly. Ivy hugged me. You okay? I sank onto the couch. I remember when we were kids, Shane got caught stealing candy. Mum made excuses, Dad paid for it, and they told me to share my allowance with him so he wouldn't do it again. And now? Kerry asked softly. Now I'm done sharing my allowance. My phone rang. My father. Dad? Princess. His voice was broken. The bank called. They're auditing all of Shane's accounts. What did you do? I didn't do anything, Dad. Shane did this to himself. He's your brother. And I'm your daughter, the words burst out. But that never seemed to matter before, did it? Silence. Dad? Your mother wants to meet, to talk about options. The only option is the legal one, I said firmly. They can void the sale and return the money, or face the consequences. You'd send your own brother to jail? I thought about the USB drive, about Aidan's smile, about years of enabling and excuses. No, Dad. Shane sent himself to jail. I'm just not stopping him anymore. I hung up as Kerry finished reviewing the documents. We need to file these with the court, he said. It's not just civil fraud anymore. This is criminal. Do it, I said, my voice steady. Ivy squeezed my hand. What happens now? Now? I looked at the family photo on my wall, taken years ago when I still believed in happy endings. Now we let the truth do what it does best. Which is, Kerry asked, destroy everything my parents built to protect Shane. I took the photo down. Sometimes karma needs a little help. The pounding on my apartment door started at 7 a.m. I knew who it was before I even checked the peephole. Open this door right now! My mother's voice carried through the hallway. Mallory! I took a deep breath and turned the lock. She burst in, still in her designer yoga outfit, face flushed with anger. How dare you! She thrust her phone in my face. The local news website's headline glared back at me. Local business scandal, family home sale under investigation. I didn't contact any media, I said calmly, but fraud investigations are public record. They're saying Shane could go to prison. She paced my living room like a caged animal. Your own brother. The same brother who stole $50,000 before the business even started. She froze. That's a lie. I have the bank records, Mum, and so do the police. We raised you better than this. She sank onto my couch, suddenly looking older. To betray your family. Betray? I cut her off, like selling my house without telling me, like giving my inheritance to Shane. He needed it more. He needed consequences more. I was shouting now, years of silence finally breaking. Every time he messed up, you cleaned it up. Every time he failed, you blamed everyone but him. And now innocent people could lose their investments because you never taught him right from wrong. My phone buzzed. Ivy calling. I ignored it. We gave you everything, my mother whispered. No, you gave me what was left after Shane took his share. There's a difference. Another buzz, Kerry this time, then a text. Turn on the news, now. I grabbed the remote, switching on the TV. The local morning show was running the story. There was Shane, being escorted from his office in handcuffs. My mother's face went ash white. The reporter's voice filled the room. Following allegations of fraud and embezzlement, sources say the investigation began after questions arose about the sale of a family property. Turn it off, my mother pleaded. I left it on. Investors are encouraged to contact the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. My phone started ringing non-stop. Ivy again. Kerry. My father. Unknown numbers. Probably reporters. This will destroy us, my mother said. Our reputation, our standing in the community. Maybe it should be destroyed. I turned to face her. Maybe that's the only way anything will change. Change? She stood up, drawing herself to full height. You want change? Fine. You're no longer my daughter. Is that enough change for you? The words should have hurt. Instead, I felt oddly calm. Mum, I stopped being your daughter the day Shane became your only priority. This just makes it official. A sharp knock at the door made us both jump. Through the peephole, I saw two men in suits. Ms. Sherman, one called out. FBI, we'd like to ask you some questions about your brother's business dealings. My mother grabbed my arm. Don't you dare! I pulled free. Actually, I have quite a lot to tell them. If you open that door, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. I thought about Grandma's trust, about years of second place, about Shane's smirk over champagne. No, Mum, I'll regret it if I don't. I opened the door. The agents showed their badges. Come in, I said. I have documents you should see. My mother grabbed her purse and headed for the door. You're making a terrible mistake. Actually, one agent said, Mrs. Sherman, we'd like you to stay as well. We have some questions about your role in the property sale. She froze, hand on the doorknob. For the first time in my life, I saw real fear in her eyes. My phone buzzed again. A text from Kerry. Your father just called me, wants to make a deal. I showed the agents to my dining room table, where copies of all the documents were laid out neatly, just as Kerry had advised. Start at the beginning, the lead agent said, pulling out a recorder. "Tell us everything." I looked at my mother, still standing by the door, and thought about all the time she told me to be quiet, to let things go, to put Shane first. "Well," I said, sitting down, "it started with a family dinner and a trust document in my grandmother's Bible." My mother sank into a chair, defeated, as I began to tell the truth she'd spent decades trying to hide. Sometimes karma doesn't just need help, I thought. Sometimes it needs witnesses. The local country club had never felt so quiet. I sat across from my father in the nearly empty dining room, watching him push his salad around his plate. "The garden club asked your mother to resign," he said finally. 30 years of membership gone. That must be hard for her. "They're calling me the fraud father at the golf course." He put down his fork. "The board asked me to step down." "And Shane?" "They denied him bail." His voice cracked. He's not doing well in there." A waiter approached with water, then quickly retreated, obviously recognizing us from the news. "The prosecutor offered a deal," I said. "Kerry told me this morning." "I know." He dabbed his mouth with a napkin. 5 years if he pleads guilty. 10 if he doesn't." "Has he taken it?" "He wants to fight it." My father aged 10 years before my eyes. Says he can explain everything. Like he explained the missing 50,000 or the fake investor documents. "Mallory, please." He reached across the table. "There must be something you can do. A statement saying it was all a misunderstanding." "It wasn't a misunderstanding." I pulled my hand back. "And we both know it." "He's your brother." "And I'm your daughter." The few other diners turned to stare. I lowered my voice. "But that never mattered, did it? Not when Shane needed new cars, or tuition money or bail, not even when you sold my house without telling me." "We thought—" He trailed off. "You thought I'd just accept it, like I accepted everything else." I took a sip of water. "But Grandma taught me better than that." "Your grandmother." He shook his head. "She always said you were the strong one." "No, Dad, I was just the one you took for granted." My phone buzzed. A news alert. I opened it and nearly dropped my phone. "What?" my father asked. I turned the screen toward him. The headline read, "Local Scandal Deepens. Investment Firm Reveals Missing Millions in Multiple States." "That's not possible," he whispered. "The FBI found connections to 3 other fraudulent businesses," I said, scanning the article. "All linked to Aidan and Shane. They've been doing this for years." "But he said this was his first venture." "He lied, Dad. That's what Shane does, and you and Mum taught him he could get away with it." The waiter returned, nervously holding a phone. Miss Sherman, there's a reporter on the club's line for you." "No comment," I said automatically, just as Kerry had taught me. My father's phone started ringing, then mine again. The story was exploding. "We have to do something," he pleaded. "Actually, we don't." I stood up, dropping my napkin. "For the first time in my life, I don't have to fix Shane's mess." "Your mother won't survive this scandal." "She'll survive. She's just not used to consequences." I gathered my purse. "Kind of like Shane." "Where are you going?" "To meet with Kiara. The house sale is being officially voided tomorrow." I paused. "You'll need to find somewhere else to live." "We can't afford to move." "Should have thought about that before giving away $500,000 that wasn't yours to give." As I walked through the dining room, whispers followed me. But for once they weren't about Shane's latest success or my parents' perfect family. Outside, Kerry was waiting by his car. "You okay?" he asked. "They're still trying to make me fix it." And I'm done being the family janitor." I looked back at the club, where my father sat alone at the window. "Let them clean up their own mess for once." "The prosecutor wants to meet tomorrow," Kerry said. "They're expanding the investigation. Your parents might be charged as accessories." I thought about my mother's garden club, my father's golf games, their carefully curated social life. "Good," I said. "Maybe jail runs in the family." "That's cold, Mal." "No." I turned to him. Cold is selling your daughter's house without telling her. Cold is giving her brother everything and expecting her to smile about it. This isn't cold, Kerry. This is karma. My phone buzzed again. A text from Ivy. OMG, just saw the news. You okay? I typed back, never better. And surprisingly, it was true. As my family's carefully constructed facade crumbled around them, I felt lighter than I had in years. Want to grab coffee? Kerry asked. No, I smiled. I want to go home, to my apartment, where nobody can sell it without telling me. He laughed, and for the first time in weeks, I laughed too. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just exposing the truth. It's finally being free of the lies. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters when I arrived. Camera flashes burst like lightning as my parents pushed through the crowd, heads down, my mother hiding behind large sunglasses. Ms. Sherman, a reporter shoved a microphone toward me. How does it feel to expose your own brother's fraud? Kerry appeared at my elbow, steering me through the chaos. No comments at this time. Inside, the courtroom was packed. I spotted Aidan in handcuffs, his slick appearance now rumpled and tired. Then Shane was led in, wearing an orange jumpsuit that made him look small and pale. All rise! The judge entered, and the proceedings began. I sat between Kerry and Ivy, watching as the prosecutor laid out the case. Your Honour, we have documented evidence of fraud across multiple states. She gestured to a stack of exhibits. Mr. Sherman and Mr. Patterson systematically defrauded investors of over $2 million. My mother's quiet sobbing echoed through the courtroom. Furthermore, the prosecutor continued, we have evidence that the defendant's most recent venture was funded through an illegal property sale, orchestrated with the knowledge and cooperation of the defendant's parents. My father's head snapped up. The judge peered over his glasses. Are the parents present in the courtroom? Yes, Your Honour, the prosecutor pointed. Fernando and Delilah Sherman. Step forward, please. They walked to the podium like sleepwalkers. My mother's designer outfit couldn't hide her trembling. Mrs. Sherman, the judge said, did you knowingly sell property that was partially owned by your daughter without her consent? She looked back at me. We thought the trust was void. That's not what I asked. Yes, she whispered, we did. And the proceeds were given to your son, knowing he had a history of financial misconduct. My father spoke up. We were trying to help him. By stealing from your daughter? The judge's voice was sharp. By enabling fraud? Suddenly Shane stood up, his handcuffs rattling. This is all her fault. He pointed at me. She could have kept quiet. She could have been a good sister. Mr. Sherman, the judge banged his gavel. Sit down. You ruined everything, Shane was shouting now. Mum and Dad were right. You were always jealous, always trying to make me look bad. Bailiff. You did this! Shane tried to lunge forward, but officers grabbed him. You destroyed our family! No, Shane, my voice cut through his yelling. You did that all by yourself. The courtroom erupted in chaos. The judge called for order as Shane was dragged out, still screaming. My mother collapsed into my father's arms. In light of this outburst, the judge said once order was restored, and the overwhelming evidence presented, I'm prepared to rule. The room went silent. Shane Sherman and Aidan Patterson will be remanded to custody pending trial. Given the flight risk and the severity of charges, bail is denied. My mother's sob echoed again. Furthermore, the judge continued, Fernando and Delilah Sherman are hereby charged as accessories to fraud. You'll surrender your passports and report to booking after this hearing. But, my father stammered, our reputation should have been considered before committing fraud, the judge finished. Ms. Sherman? I stood. Yes, Your Honour. The property sale is officially voided. The proceeds will be returned to a court-controlled account pending final disposition. Thank you, Your Honour. As people began filing out, my mother approached me one last time. Are you happy now? Her voice was bitter. You've ruined us all. No, Mum, you ruined yourselves. I just refuse to be collateral damage. Mallory, my father tried one last time. We're still your parents. No! I stepped back. You're just the people who raised me to be strong enough to stop you. Officers approached to escort them to booking. The last thing I saw was my mother's mascara-stained face as she was led away. Outside, the reporters were waiting. Ms. Sherman, will you testify against your family? How does it feel to be the whistleblower? Kerry started to intervene, but I touched his arm. It's okay, I know what to say. I faced the cameras, thinking of all the times I'd been told to be quiet, to be good, to put family first. The truth, I said clearly, is more important than family loyalty, especially when that loyalty is used to cover up crimes. Do you regret coming forward? I thought about Shane's screaming, my mother's tears, my father's shame. No, I said. I regret not doing it sooner. As Kerry led me to his car, Ivy squeezed my hand. You okay? I watched my parents being led to a police car, heads bowed, handcuffs glinting. You know what? I really am. Sometimes the hardest part isn't exposing the truth. It's living with the aftermath. But as I watched my family's carefully constructed world crumble, I realised I'd never felt more free. The real estate agent handed me the keys with a bright smile. Congratulations on your new home. I stood in the empty living room of my new apartment, sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. The view of the city stretched out before me, unobstructed and beautiful, just like my future. My phone buzzed, a news alert. Local fraudster accepts plea deal. Shane had finally broken, agreeing to testify against Aidan in exchange for a reduced sentence, 5 years instead of 10. Need help with boxes? Kerry appeared in the doorway, sleeves rolled up. Thanks, but I've got it, I smiled. This place I want to do myself. Fair enough. He hesitated. Have you heard from your parents? They took a plea too, 18 months each plus restitution. I ran my hand along the smooth countertop. The country club officially revoked their membership yesterday. Ouch, that might hurt more than jail. Probably. I unpacked a box marked kitchen. Did you know my mother called me from booking? Said she'd forgive me if I wrote a letter to the judge asking for leniency. Classic. Kerry leaned against the wall. What did you say? Nothing. I blocked the number. Ivy burst in carrying a houseplant, wedding present from the office. I'm not getting married. No, but you just bought your first home with your own money. Same difference. She set the plant by the window. Oh, did you see the news about Shane? Just now. I pulled out my grandmother's china teacups, carefully wrapped in newspaper. Seems fitting somehow. How so? He finally faced consequences. Real ones. No family bailout this time. The doorbell rang, the movers with more boxes. As they worked, I unwrapped Grandma's old Bible, the one that had started everything. A photo fell out. Me at 6, Shane at 3, both of us laughing on a swing set. You okay? Kerry asked softly. You know what? I really am. I placed the Bible on my new bookshelf. For the first time, I'm not responsible for anyone else's happiness. Speaking of happiness, Ivy grinned, Kerry told me he asked you out last week. And I said no. Why? They both asked simultaneously. I looked around my new home, bought with my share of the voided house sale, chosen by me, decorated for me. Because I'm done living my life around other people's needs. I started unpacking books. Even good people. Kerry nodded slowly. I respect that. Besides, I smiled, I have plans. Oh? Ivy perked up. Do tell. The community centre where Grandma volunteered? They're looking for board members. I pulled out the application I'd been working on. Someone who understands finance and family dynamics. Perfect fit, Kerry said. That's what I thought. I looked at the city view again. Time to build something that helps people instead of enabling them. The movers finished, leaving us in comfortable silence. Ivy started arranging kitchen supplies while Kerry helped with the books. You know, Ivy said suddenly, Your mum called me yesterday. What did she want? To know if you'd visit them in prison. Ivy paused. I told her you were busy building a life they couldn't sell out from under you. I laughed, really laughed, for what felt like the first time in months. My phone buzzed again. A text from Kiara. Final paperwork filed. Case closed. Congratulations. Hey! Kerry picked up a champagne bottle he'd hidden behind a box. Think this calls for a celebration? I grabbed 3 glasses from an open box. Actually, it does. As we toasted in my new living room, I thought about family, about loyalty, about the difference between helping and enabling, about how sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away. To new beginnings, Ivy raised her glass. To consequences, Kerry added. To building my own house, I said, and filling it with people who deserve to be there. The sunset painted the city gold, and I felt something settle in my chest. Not closure exactly, but peace. The kind that comes from finally standing in your own truth, no matter what it costs. I picked up Grandma's Bible, touching the trust document still tucked inside. Thank you, I whispered, too soft for the others to hear. Sometimes the family you're born with teaches you exactly what kind of family you don't want to be, and sometimes that's the greatest gift they could give you. I raised my glass one more time, watching the city lights begin to twinkle. To Karma, I said, and to finally being home.